Hey everyone, thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, and I'm sure you're wondering about the title. So the reason why I'm saying a bull, a bear, a tortoise, and a hare is because I want to generally outline, what I see as the phases of the next market cycle. So let's go ahead and jump in. So the first thing is we have the bull market, okay, and the bull markets are pretty readily defined. You can see them here. Here's one, here's the second one, and then here's the third one. And then clearly the bear markets are quite apparent. You can see the first one, the second one, and the third one. Now, I also like to break down bull markets into subcategories, and that's where I would say the tortoise and the hare come in. So let's go ahead and break this stuff up into segments. So we first have first we're going to just draw the top of the all-time highs each time Bitcoin reaches that all-time high before a bear market. So we're not going to include the wick. We're just going to go to the candle, and then we're going to draw it over to the price. Okay, so we're going to do that once here, and then we're going to do it a second time for the next market cycle. So we're just going to go up here to the all-time high, draw it all the way over to the price. So basically when we reach that previous all-time high. Okay, and then we're going to do it one more time for this the market cycle that we're hopefully getting into next. Let me go ahead and reduce this video. I'm sure you guys really like looking at me, but the real content's obviously on the screen. So now once we get this idea of reaching these previous all-time highs, this is where I would say the bull market can be further subdivided into a slower phase and then a faster phase. So this is where I would say the tortoise and the hare come in. So the first phase is before we get to the previous all-time high, but when we're above the 20-week moving average. So once we get above the 20-week and hold it as support, we can draw a line basically that you can see where the price is going, and more or less follows that trend line up to the previous all-time high. Okay, and then once we get to that previous all-time high, we then accelerate our growth and we get into the hare phase. So this is the tortoise, this is the hare, this is the bull market, and this is the bear market. Okay, so let's do it again. So again, we get above the 20-week, hold it as support, draw a trend line up to the previous all-time high. You can see it basically follows that curve. Then once we get to the previous all-time high, you can see that we accelerate and we go up. You guys see that? Actually, this one I really should draw it up to the final peak and not that first peak. So let's draw it up to here. So you kind of see the overarching structure of the market cycle. Now, again, we're above the 20-week, and the hope, right, is that we hold it. And I guess it depends on your perspective. If you're convinced that Bitcoin is going to six figures in the next, say, 2 to 3 years or so, then watching the price come down in the short term would be a good thing, because it would allow you to accumulate more at a cheaper price and a lower risk level. But for the sake of argument, let's say that Bitcoin holds the 20-week as support. And clearly, that's not to say that we will, and if we don't, I think we'll just test it further down the road. But let's say that we do, and we'll say we're going to draw the trend line from here out to the previous all-time high. So, and note that we're saying that our cycles are lengthening, because you can see the time we get above the 20-week and the time to reach the previous all-time high is getting longer and longer. So if we first take a measured move from approximately this region to the previous all-time high, it took around 301 days. From this region, which I guess is probably not drawn exactly to scale, but or not drawn perfectly, but let's just say it's approximately 450 days or so. This could actually probably be adjusted to account for when we held it as support, but this is when we popped above the 20-week moving average, and before we held it as support, so we could even look at that instead. But more or less, this one was around 300 days, this one was around 450 days, so we would expect our next one to continue to increase, and this goes in line with lengthening cycles. So let's draw a trend line out, let's say breaking the 20-week moving average and holding it as support. if we were to say draw it out maybe 600 days or so, which I don't know if it'll take that long. We only have 2 data points to compare to, so it's really hard to know how long it's actually going to take. But just to, to get an idea, right? I mean, we're looking at possibilities here. We might expect something like this, and maybe it'll be 400 days, maybe it'll be 500 days, 600 days. Let's say, just for the sake of it, let's say it's around 500 days or so. So that would put us getting back to $20,000 in sometime middle of 2021 or so. Clearly, I don't know if this is going to happen, but it is a possibility. So I don't know why it keeps disappearing on me. Let's draw it back out. So we're going to go from here out, potentially 500 days or so, and put that there. Okay, so the next phase is the tortoise part of the bull market. So we would draw a trend line from here to the previous all-time high. So you could imagine us, moving up more or less along that curve. Not financial advice, but and really, these incorporate huge gains and huge losses in and of themselves. It's just that compared to the hare phase of the bull market, they're not quite as extravagant. So then, if our target is, say, late 2022, maybe to middle of 2023 or something like that, let's draw that out. So this is, say, May, April 2023, that time frame. Let's say we reach a price of, $135,000 or so, maybe $150,000. I don't know exactly. And then let's fix this so it actually goes to the previous all-time high. You can see maybe it'll do something like that, where you can see that from reaching the previous all-time high to getting to the next, say, paradigm shift in terms of, the end of the next bull run, you can see that our slopes are decreasing. So from here, and then we flatten out, and then we flatten out even more. Now, the argument is that maybe we don't flatten out that much. Maybe we'll peak in, say, December of 2022, and it'll look more like, that or something, where you can see that not only are the tortoise phases of the bull market becoming flatter, but also the hare phases of the bull market are becoming flatter. And then we would, assuming that something like this is right, then clearly we would just take our new all-time high, draw a line out, and then continue the cycle. This is kind of what I see happening. I think this would likely take place over the next, say, 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. It's hard to say exactly when it's going to happen. In some of the reports I've written, I will kind of assign like a probability distribution to it, more or less, to say, well, I think there's a really good chance it'll be 2022 or 2023, and then maybe really small chances that it's either 2021 or 2024. But I would expect something like this. I think this is the structure of the market, the bear market, the bull market, and then within each bull market, a tortoise phase and a hare phase. And it begs the question whether we're in that the tortoise phase now, or if we're kind of still in the accumulation phase and we're not going to hold the 20-week moving average. So we'll continue to keep that updated. We'll look at that. Obviously, you guys know I'm a strong proponent of the 20-week moving average, as I mention it in a lot of my videos on Bitcoin and even videos on altcoins, where I try to track their performance through what Bitcoin is doing, because Bitcoin is the market mover. So I would like to know what you guys think about this video. Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, please, and check out the Telegram channel in the description below. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.